Hi Taurus, welcome to your February 2019 Tarology 33 reading. We have a Celtic cross spread in front of us. This particular spread, I don't know if I've ever seen this many extra cards come out for a general reading before, so for some of you it might end up feeling more like a personal reading, and for others of you it might not resonate. So just giving you a heads up, because there's a lot of cards that came out. So what I'll try to do is try to balance the fact that, okay, it seems like it's going to be a pretty poignant message for a few of you, but I'll also try to make it relatable to the rest of you as well. All right, but trust your own intuition there too. If I start telling a story and it doesn't seem like it resonates with you, then that's fine too. You could check out your moon sign, rising sign. If you're Taurus sun, basically whatever other signs you have. Like if you're Taurus rising, check out your moon or sun. You get the idea. Or even check out other readers, because this is pretty interesting how these cards are coming out. So we'll see. Like I said, for some of you it's probably going to feel like a personal reading. For others you might be like, what is this guy talking about right now? So we'll see. And then after the main spread, we have two oracle cards that might also help add some additional insight. And then we have a mudra card as well. So there's definitely a lot to get to. So let's get started. Going with the main position first. And you guys got a few cards here. You had the Eight of Cups, the Three of Wands, and the High Priestess card. So, to me, this is a Pisces card. It represents the first 10 degrees of Pisces. And to me, I also view this sometimes as a Pisces card. Not necessarily, like the main Pisces card for me is the Hangman, which you also have in the spread, but sometimes this point to Pisces energy for me as well. So this could be primarily pointing to a timeline, given the fact that, the sun will be moving into the sign of Pisces towards the end of February. So maybe that's primarily what it's pointing to. And if that's the case, where the Three of Wands might come into play here, is it might be saying that, you might be waiting for your ships to come in, as we refer to with this energy, meaning that, you're waiting for the results of something. So usually you've already put the work in or put the plan into place, and now you're just waiting for the payoff. And maybe it's saying that you might have to wait until the time of Pisces. So, coming into February, you might still have to wait a few weeks in order to get those results you're looking for. But, to remove the astrology part aside for a second, this could just be referring to you moving on from something or being on the fence about it and trying to rely on your intuition about whether you should move on or not. Because this card, as far as the artwork goes, it's pretty self-explanatory what the energy is there, right? This person's walking away from all those cups. So this could have been something you've been involved with for a long time, 8 months, 8 years. Even if it's not specific to 8, just something that you might have put a lot of work into, and maybe trying to decide, okay, well, is this fulfilling for me? Do I want to wait for these results to come in, or should I just move on altogether? So maybe it's just something you've been putting work into for a long time. You're hoping for and waiting to see these results, but you're starting to wonder, is it even worth it at this point? And when the sun does go into Pisces, which, like I said, this represents those first 10 degrees, you guys will have a full moon in the sign of Virgo, which is your 5th house. So it could be related to a love relationship, could be related to creative projects that you might have been working on. That's the main theme that could be going on with that. And, this could also just be referring to right now, you could be feeling intuitive. You guys have Mars in your 12th house as we speak. And, it will be moving into your sign around mid-month, but that could just have you going inward quite a bit and trying to reevaluate things in your life. All right, in the challenger obstacle position, you guys have the 9 of Pentacles. So this could just be saying, again, for those of you who were considering walking away from a relationship, since that was one of the first potential themes I threw out there, this could just be saying the challenge for you would be to embrace your singlehood, meaning that with this 8 of Cups energy, It could be that you're not necessarily happy with it, right? But you might just be like, well, what would come next? If I move on, then what? You know, and that could happen with fixed signs sometimes. That's the gift and the curse of being a fixed sign sometimes is, when a relationship's good, it's great that you have that devotion and loyalty, but sometimes you guys will stay when something's past its expiration date as well. Be like, all right, well, if I move on, then what? Right? So it could just be saying that challenge or obstacle for you is you kind of know deep down that, all right, this isn't the right connection for me, but you're sticking with it because you're like, well, it'd be, you start thinking to yourself and talking yourself out of it. Like, all right, well, I'd have to do this differently, that differently. I'd have to change so much. I might have to move out, right? If you're living together with the person, there's a whole lot of things that could come into play that makes you say, all right, well, do I really want to make this move? For others of you, this could just be pointing to, finances as well. Just saying that, the challenge for you is to enjoy your financial success if you've had some, right? Like that Three of Wands energy that we mentioned. Could just be saying that you need to, take that time to actually take some time out. And maybe that's part of it too. Maybe you guys are pushing because in the near future position we have the Ten of Wands. So maybe some of you guys are trying to push it too much. And it's saying, now might not be the time. Because in addition to the sun moving into Pisces towards the end of the month, you guys will also have Mars moving into your sign around mid-month. So maybe it's a timing thing saying that, try to rest and relax for a bit. When Mars comes into your sign, you'll have the energy to take on the things that you need to take on. So that could be what the message is there. All right, in the foundation position, we have the Hangman and we have the Eight of Swords. So again, this seems like a very stuck energy, right? This is a pretty self-explanatory card as far as the artwork goes as well, right? And then you combine that with the Hangman, which, like I said, to me, this is a major arcana card for Pisces. So some of you definitely can be dealing with a Pisces, and maybe that's what it's going on. Maybe what that was speaking is about as well, is saying that maybe you're trying to decide, do I want to move on from this Pisces, or do I want to wait for, things to get back on track? Or maybe some of you have already separated from them, and you're like, well, should I just move on with the expectation that they're not coming back, or should I wait a little bit longer to see if they do, right? Maybe that's what's going on there if you guys did have a separation. But just focusing this back on your energy in particular, this could just be pointing to the fact that, you're seeing things from a different perspective right now. And again, like I said, with Mars being in your 12th house, which is the house that Pisces naturally rules, that could just be forcing you to look inward and try to figure things out from that area of life. And, you could just feel stuck though. It's like, okay, you're getting these intuitive flashes and these insights into certain things, but you're, not sure how to move forward from here. In the past position, we have the Seven of Cups and we have the Five of Swords. So what this could be pointing to is Seven of Cups usually represents confusion. The way I explained it is if you look at these cups, for us, we're looking at it right now, we could see the cups pretty clearly. We see what's in them and we could make the decision if we want to touch those cups or not go anywhere near them, right? But then if we look at this person, they're completely in the dark. So to me, that could represent saying that you're just not seeing things very clearly in a certain situation. And with this in the past position, it might have led to a petty conflict of some kind. The Five of Swords energy is usually those petty ego conflicts. They're the types of arguments that you go into knowing that nothing productive is going to come out of it before it even starts, but you still do it anyway. That's what this energy represents. And the thing is, too, actually, this also is the first 10 degrees of Aquarius. So maybe it's saying that right when the sun got into Aquarius, you guys had an eclipse in your 4th house, 0 degrees Leo. So that's your 4th house. For some of you, it could still be your 3rd, too, which would be communication, since it's like just at 0 degrees. For some of you, yes, it could certainly be your 4th house. Others, it could still be your 3rd. So maybe when that took place, since this is a past position, I'm going to be posting this before we start February. I'm posting this right after the eclipse, basically. And so, but if we take this from the perspective that it's a February reading, and this is the past position, this could just be saying as you move into that final week before February, you might have gotten into a conflict or maybe just had some confusion going on for you right there. And then in the present position, looks like there's still more confusion. A lot of cards came out here. You guys got the Nine of Swords, the Moon card, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Emperor. So what these four cards could be pointing to, first of all, the Nine of Swords could definitely represent anxiety, sleepless nights. Again, this is another one where the artwork speaks for itself. We don't really have to go too deep. It doesn't look like this person's very comfortable. It could be reflecting on things that already happened in the past. So again, if you did have a fight with someone, maybe you had to blow up with someone, and now you're like looking back like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, right? Or even if they were the aggressors and you felt they were wrong, you still might feel that way about it anyway, because again, like I said, that energy in general, there's usually no winners. The person in the moment might feel like they won, but really, like I said, nothing good was going to come out of it. And both parties usually know it going into it too. And then if we want to look at a timeline, this could have been, let's say, even maybe during the Capricorn new moon, let's say, which would have been early in January. So maybe it was around that time when the conflict happened, And then the Emperor, that's Aries energy. So where that could come into play, again, like I said, you guys have Mars in your 12th house. So, that could cause some issues in that regard too. Mars in the 12th house is usually a pretty weakened energy for anyone. And, for you guys, it could have just had things come out a bit abruptly that maybe you regretted after the fact. But, once it's done in a way. But with the Queen of Pentacles, this, is a Capricorn energy for me. So, again, if it's not the timeline itself, this could just be pointing to the energy that you're trying to take in. You guys are also an earth sign, so clearly, it could also be referring to you or to even a Virgo. But, generally speaking, this is the core card for Capricorn. And then we have Aries here. So there's been some tense things going on between those two signs too. For example, Mars was squaring Saturn. And starting February, Mars is going to be squaring Pluto. So that would be, Mars in Aries, Saturn in Capricorn. Then Mars in Aries, Saturn, or rather Pluto in Capricorn. So that could be what it's referring to, too. Those might have been the energies at play that brought all this stuff out. But yeah, so you could definitely see it's pretty self-explanatory there. It looks like coming into the moment, you might be feeling a bit anxious about something, maybe looking back on something with regrets, and again, maybe not sure which way to move forward. Still not necessarily seeing things clearly. And, like I said, this could represent another person or it could be you. That could go either way. But this is a lot of cardinal energy too. So, part of it too is you might feel like you want to start something, right? With the cardinal energy on the table, but you just can't get that push. And like I said, if that's the case, you should get some relief with that when Mars comes into your sign around mid-month. So something to keep in mind there. All right, in the near future position, we have the Ten of Wands. So this is actually a card that represents the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius. And trying to think, I think there's some planetary movement going on there right now. I think maybe, I think Venus is actually in that area right now. So, but primarily I'm looking at this more of an energy thing. And like I said, maybe it's saying that in the near future, meaning that when Mars goes back into your sign, you might just feel, try to take on too much at once. Again, if you've been feeling stuck energy, there's a lot of stuck energy here as far as we had, you know, the Eight of Cups, which is moving on, but then that Three of Wands energy, right? So still that's like a duality there. Like, do I move on or do I wait a little bit longer? The Hangman energy, okay, and Eight of Swords, feeling a bit stuck. Seven of Cups, not feeling sure about what you're seeing. Nine of Swords, so maybe it's saying finally when Mars comes into your sign, you're like, okay, I have the energy to do what I need to get done now, and you might just try to take on too much at once. Um, but the way that I look at this card is, to me, sometimes yes, it can be seen as a burden, and the way I look at it is, sure, you'll have the strength and the ability to take on that task if you want to, but it might help to think about a better way to do it, right? Like, this person can't even see where they're going. So to me, this could just be going in a direction, this is something you had your mind set on, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, right? But do you even, have you even thought to what the end game is there? What's the benefit going to be when you get to that place? You can't even see it right now, right? So could just be calling for you to apply a bit of strategy. And then in the position of your influence on the situation, we have the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands. So given that this is your influence in the situation, this could represent a couple of things. For me, it could be saying that you're trying to, embrace your masculine and feminine side, right? Again, if this is representing you, or this could be saying that, again, if you did have a conflict with someone in the past, this could be you trying to put it back together, right? And maybe that's what the Ten of Wands energy is about too. You're deciding, you know what, we had this petty conflict in the past, I've been, feeling anxious about it, trying to figure out what I want to do, and then you decide ultimately, all right, let me try to get us back together, right? Like I said, especially, I mentioned the other person potentially being a Pisces, but it could be anyone, and maybe it's just saying that, they took it, they handled it far more emotionally than you, so they might still be a bit hurt, and, you might have been waiting for them to, waiting for it to blow over and see if they come back to you, and maybe with Mars coming into your sign, that gives you the energy and the focus to say, all right, you know what, let me try to fix this. So that could be what that's pointing to there. And then if we just look at those energies, as far as the sign of Leo, and that's your fourth house, like I said, there was an eclipse there. I'm recording this the day after the eclipse, basically. And then again, going back to Aries, you have Uranus and Mars in that sign, which is your 12th house. So again, maybe things that have been coming out from beneath the surface, maybe there's been things that you've had locked up inside for a long time that have just been coming out, and maybe they've been coming out a bit abruptly, and that's been causing some issues. You guys had the North Node moving through the sign of Leo for about 18 months, and now it's moved on into Cancer, which is your third house of communication. But like I said, you had that last eclipse that just happened at 0 degrees Leo, and now there won't be another eclipse on the Leo Aquarius axis for another 9 years. So this could just be saying, okay, maybe this was long held beliefs that you might have had, right? Like maybe you've had, okay, this is what I need to do, right? I'm gonna, your parents raised you a certain way. Sagittarius had a similar message in some ways. If you guys have a prominent Sagittarius placement as well, you might want to check out that reading. But I'm just saying, maybe you were raised a certain way and you believed, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to be successful, right? And you're just going through it with it. And, at this point, you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm determined to do it. But you're not really taking the time to look inward and see, all right, is this actually fulfilling me, right? Like I said, the challenged position here, maybe the challenge is for you to enjoy that money you have, right? Maybe you're having financial success, right? But maybe you're like realizing emotionally with the cups here, it's not really fulfilling you, right? So like, should I continue to do this? Should I continue to stick with this progress that I've been making, or should I do something that speaks to me more on a spiritual level, right? So maybe that's what's going on there. And those two cards are just pointing to those energies and what's bringing all of that out. Because Uranus was squaring, even though you would think, oh, okay, Uranus is in Aries and the full moon was in Leo, you would think of that as supportive aspects because they're both fire signs. But the thing is, like, Uranus is so close to your sign again, and then the eclipse being at 0 degrees Leo, it was still a connection that we would consider a square, which can bring things out abruptly, which Uranus can do anyway, even without a harsh aspect like that. So, this really might have brought something out. And in general, with the Uranus transit, because you guys are going to have that going back into your sign, I believe, in March, and then it's there to stay for, 7 or 8 years, something like that. And, you might have heard some people really building up that whole thing, oh, Uranus in your sign, it's going to, change you so much. And what I would say is that's not generally my experience. The main thing with Uranus is that it's about authenticity. So if you're already on an authentic path that you know is right for you, you won't feel the transit that much. But for those of you who know you're on the wrong path, then maybe that's what that Eight of Cups is pointing to you. It's like deep down it's not right for you, but you're still doing it. You're just going through the motions, right? Like, you know what? I'm already committed to this. I'm going to keep doing it. Like I said, you guys, as fixed signs, I mentioned the relationship dynamic first, but it could just be anything in your life. You just get so comfortable with that. You're like, you know what? I'm determined to see this through. And that Uranus transit might be harsher for you guys than if that's the category you fit in, because it could really force you to say, hey, is this really, really the authentic path you want to be on? So, sorry for that random tangent, but it seemed fitting when I was thinking about those energies there. In the position of the environment's influence on the situation, you got the Four of Swords, the Six of Pentacles, and the Four of Cups. So, this makes me think back to the relationship dynamic that I mentioned. So, if there was an argument, right, and the other person still heard about it, and this is you, with all that fire energy that we see here, you're taking the initiative. Like I said, with Mars coming into your side mid-month, that would totally make sense, right? It gives you that fiery energy to get something done. So maybe you're like, you know what, let me go to fix this. And this could be them in a healing phase, and maybe you coming back around. It's like you're trying to restore balance in a situation, but they might not be ready yet. You know what I mean? Like, if we look at their energy, it's like, okay, that could be you extending a cup to them, and they're just like, not really having it, right? If we look at their body language, their arms crossed, not even looking at it. So this could just be saying, and especially for those of you, maybe you've been trying a few times, right? Maybe you've been sending them messages here and there, and they're just not really satisfied with it, right? Or it could just be saying that with the Six of Pentacles, the Four of Swords, they're waiting for what they feel is a fair offer, So put it this way. I'm not saying that all of you guys were in the wrong here. Like I said, usually with the Five of Swords, both people are to blame. But usually the quote-unquote winner is, because it's such a toxic dynamic to begin with, someone usually has to go a bit over the top to quote-unquote win. So, if that was you who did that, and especially if you're dealing with someone that is a lot more emotional, they could really just be hurt by it, and you might be trying, little things here and there to just, maybe you're doing those, some people do that thing where they'll test the waters a bit to see, is it safe to, talk with the person again, and they just might see right through that. You know what I mean? Because maybe this is saying that the type of person you're dealing with is like a high priestess. So intuitively they know what you're trying to do. They're like, okay, you're trying to come back and act like everything's cool. I see right through that BS, so you might have to just put in a little more effort if that's the case. Um, we'll see if it's really doom and gloom, because I forgot the cards that are here, but there's definitely some cards that could help us figure out how it's going to end up. I know it doesn't look good there, but I think there are some better cards beneath that, so we'll see. In the position of the hopes or fears, we have the Seven of Wands, the Three of Cups, and the Temperance card. So the main way that I see this is with the Seven of Wands, this is usually defending yourself and, having the upper hand. So again, with that Seven of Cups energy, if it was a relationship, maybe neither of you was saying things clearly, right? And now maybe it takes for that Mars transit coming into your sign to give you the energy to speak up and say, hey, this is what was really going on, right? And the facts will be on your side, basically. That's usually, the way I look at this card. Like I said, there's like 6 wands there, and then this person only has one, but they have the higher vantage point, which will help them take on that challenge, right? Whereas if they were all on equal footing, might be a bit more difficult. So for some of you, this could even be, I know I've been mentioning a relationship dynamic a lot, but it could be a workplace, right? Maybe someone at work. You've been getting blamed for certain things going off the rails at work, because now you're going to have the sun in your 10th house, which is your house of career and social status. So, and with social status too, usually you think of the 11th house as the house of friendships, but that could also be related to friendships, especially because Aquarius is the natural ruler of the 11th house. So this could be friends that are opposing you, even, and you're hoping to stand up for yourself, reunite with them, right? And restore balance in the connection. So that could be what's going on there. But, this is just the hopes or fears. So the way I always say to people is, this is more of just something that's on your mind. It's not necessarily a guarantee to play out this month, but that's definitely what you're hoping for. So that's why I'm feeling like, okay, like I said, Five of Swords, yes, whatever the conflict was, workplace, personal relationship, family relationships, it wasn't eclipse in your 4th house. It could have been family. Whatever it was, both of you guys might have been in the wrong, but it just seems like you're the one who really is more in the mode of trying to fix things right now, whereas the other person might be like, they still might need a bit more time. So like I said, it's not necessarily about right or wrong. Both of you probably played a role, or, both groups, however you want to phrase it. But it could just be that you're having the impetus to actually fix things. All right, and then in the outcome position, we have the Five of Pentacles, the Judgment card, the Five of Wands, and the Ace of Swords. So the first way that I saw this play out, because this is a weird combination of cards, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was like, okay, what we might get in the whole reading, right? Has a really weird assortment of cards going for it. But what I was seeing with this Five of Pentacles, we often refer to it as the being left out in the cold card. Again, another card where the artwork speaks pretty clearly to the dynamic going on there, right? Doesn't look very comfortable, doesn't like these people having a good time. So this could be you, the other person, or like I said, if it's groups, whatever, both sides. Let's just say both sides might be feeling this way, or maybe one of you in particular. The Judgment card to me represents a rebirth, so the ability to revisit this issue, whatever it may have been. The Five of Wands shows that there might be conflict again, but, going back to the Five of Swords energy here, right? Let me put these down for a second. We'll hold them up side by side, because they're similar energies, right? But if we were to say, okay, well, what's the difference between the two? Well, the swords are more sharp than those wands, right? So, it could still be a bit of a conflict, but not as cutting necessarily. And then if you look, everyone's participating, right? It's not that one person's here feeling like they won, everyone else is walking away. So maybe this is just saying that this time around, you guys are actually going to get to the bottom of things. It's not going to be, whatever, one person's just going to storm off and that's the end of it. This time around, you guys might actually, just keep pushing through the conflict, and finally the truth will come out. Whatever, underlying thing was really going on there finally comes out, which is a healthy thing, you know what I mean? Like, if it needs to come out, it needs to come out. So maybe that Mars energy, like I said, moving in your sign, that's going to be what finally brings everything out. So for better or worse, the good thing is, at the very least, that would to me point to closure. The Judgment card is a major arcana card, so of all these energies here, it's just a regular card, regular card, regular card. And then we have the Judgment card. So the Judgment card represents a rebirth. To me, does say that, hey, if it is meant to continue this connection, then the Judgment card is the strongest card in those four. So you should have an opportunity to move forward with that if you want. And then we have the Ace of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck too. So that could also represent, maybe making an offer to build things on a more stable footing this time around. All right, let's see what the Oracle cards could add to the reading. So the first one we have is All That Glitters. There's the artwork for it. And the number is 16. Actually, what sticks to my mind too is in the tarot, 16, the major arcana card, is the Tower too. So maybe that's pointing to the energy that was at play too. Maybe it felt like a tower moment for you guys. And now you're going to have to, put in the work to fix it. And maybe that's where the ace energies are coming from, saying that you almost have to start from scratch in some way. All right, so it says essential meanings: a need to see beyond the superficial, the desire to don a mask or dress something up to disguise its true nature, trying to be something you're not, chasing after every sparkly new thing, being mercurial. So, interestingly, seeing the part that says trying to be something you're not, I wonder if that's part of what the message is too, because remember I was saying with the Uranus energy, it's going to, really force you to be authentic, so you either get ahead of that and start to get on that path, or when Uranus transit does come through, for those of you who aren't doing that, then that's when it feels more difficult. And given that we had the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands, those are fire energies, you guys are earthed, right? So maybe that's pointing to the same theme, which is saying, you need, you're trying to be something you're not for some reason. Like I said, maybe it was the way you were raised, right? You were told, oh, this is how you're going to be successful. This is what you have to do. And maybe you just feel deep down you have a totally different calling, but you've just been doing it, like, all right, this is what my family wanted me to do. I'm just going to do it. I'm not happy with it necessarily. Yeah, I have financial success, but I'm not enjoying it, right? So you're just thinking to yourself, do I want to keep doing this, or should I keep pushing through, carrying on with it, or should I look at a course correction, basically? All right. And like I said, the main reason that pops up is because Uranus is so close to your sign again, and the eclipse that just happened was squaring Leo, which is your fourth house, which represents the home, the family, the early belief systems. So that's why I'm getting that vibe there too. All right, the Oracle's message says it's only human to want to adorn oneself in trinkets and paint a pretty picture of oneself. It's natural to want to acquire the trappings of status, or to deny them as a statement of rebellion. But if it sparkles, is it better? Whether it's a fast car, a big house, a title or position, the stamp of authority, or the sparkling of diamonds, these icons let you know something about a person, place, or thing. Or do they? The truth is that people seek to acquire things because of what they will do for them and how they symbolically will elevate them and make them more attractive. This card signals that it's time to see beyond the adornments and probe underneath the surface. Learn to recognize the mask people wear and the motives underlying them. Imagine that all that glitters is gone. Would you still desire the object or person? So, that's another potential angle it could go to. Like I was saying, as far as not seeing things clearly, right? All that glitters. Maybe someone makes you all these promises. Maybe that's what has been going on here. They made you all these empty promises, right? And, so you're waiting for these things to come true. All the things that they said, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, right? And even the background of this card is like a gold type color, right? All that glitters is not gold. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then you realize, you know what? It seems like they're all talk. They're not doing any of these things. Intuitively, you might realize that too with the High Priestess underneath there. But, the challenge might be to get yourself out of that mentality. Oh, but, they're promising me this, right? Again, going back to that goal type background and, moving on from there. So that could be what's going on. The relationship message says sometimes we try to become something we're not to impress others. We embellish a story a bit, adding some dramatic elements to make us more appealing. The real person becomes hidden behind the sparkle and shine. Then there are times when we don't see the true value of someone because he or she may not have the glitz and glamour that seems so desirable. Now is the time to look past the surface, beyond the mask, to the essence of a person. Who that person is, not what he or she can give you, is important. See beyond the glitter and look for that inner glow. Use the eyes in your heart. Let go of artifice and let what is authentic shine. Alright, so that was a pretty good message there too. Again, this was again pointing to the possibility of, we embellish a story, or here it was the part that says sometimes we try to become something we're not to impress others. So again, like I was saying, maybe that was just the way you're raised. Oh, you have to, you know, get all these college degrees and have this corporate job and, all this and that. And you're like, okay, cool, I have all those things, but, am I happy at the end of the day, right? You might still feel like that energy there. So something to keep in mind. All right, and then the prosperity message says sometimes an opportunity looks so good that it glitters like gold and you just can't resist it, especially when it appears others are doing so well and have hit the mother lode. During the American gold rush, everyone hurried west to find their fortune and then deserted entire towns after the mining depleted the gold veins in the earth. So too can you deplete yourself as you chase after the latest shiny thing that has caught your eye. There is a mercurial quality to your present circumstances. Pay no attention to those who chase after fool's gold. Resist the temptation to be jealous of others. What they have achieved may not be the true success you seek, so don't compare yourself to them. You see only the surface right now, only the sparkle. Be assured that you will experience your own shining moment if you stick to what you know. All that glitters may not be gold for you. So all that glitters may not be gold for you. There was a lot there actually in that message, but that could also just be saying that, maybe you pursued a path that others have pursued, right? And this is how it left you feeling at the end of the day because it wasn't fulfilling. So maybe with the judgment card, this is saying that maybe you're, could be the rebirth to something. So it's saying maybe you go back onto a path that you were pursuing at one point that did make you happy. But then you're like, okay, I'm going to go with this because it's going to get me more money or something like that. So that's at least a possibility I'm seeing for some of you. All right, and the other oracle card you guys got, this one is from the Spirit Animal Oracle, and it's Frog Spirit. It says clear out the clutter. There's the artwork for it, and it's number 28, in case it has any significance for you. All right, it says Frog Spirit knows that while all the other frogs are croaking away, this is a time for you to simplify and declutter your life so you can feel content on your own lily pad. Even when life isn't creating a total cacophony, we can become drawn to the excitement of lots of noise. Then, the next thing we know, our schedules and homes are cluttered with commitments we regret making and objects taking up valuable space. Even relationships need decluttering, as they often become messy. Frog Spirit appears to tell you to clean house, prioritize what you need, and get rid of or give away the rest, so you can have some space in your day and in your head. You don't need the old stuff and its stories shouting at you about the past. Along with physical clutter, friendships are sometimes kept long past their expiration date, weighing you down with unnecessary baggage. Now is the time to let go. Whatever you need will appear when you need it, so release your grip on all that clutter that is making you feel anxious and burdened. Frog Spirit wants you to reclaim your space, unencumbered by shoulds, oughts, and could have beens. Let go and jump. You are free from all that old stuff. So maybe that's what this has been talking about too, the Eight of Cups energy, the Eight of Swords. It's like you feel like, okay, I've outgrown this group of friends, right? Or this work group, whoever it may be. But what happens next if I move on, right? Like I was saying, sometimes you guys can stay past the expiration date of certain connections. And like I said, that's a good quality to have sometimes. Some people leave too soon, right? But, the flip side is some people stay too long. So maybe that's what it's trying to say to you there. If you really feel like you've outgrown these people, it might just be unhealthy to keep them around. All right, so that's all the messages I'm getting from that. So we'll look at the last thing, which is actually a mudra card. So for those of you who didn't see this last month, basically I started pulling mudra cards for all the signs, and what a mudra is basically it's just a gesture or a pose that you make with your hands, and usually you do it while meditating. So hold it for 5 minutes. Some say 30, 45 minutes. Especially if you're not used to meditating normally, that might be a bit much, but 5 minutes isn't too bad. You could at least start with that. And the key word for this one is restraint. And this is the Kamajayi Mudra. So what we'll do is I'll flip it over and let it focus so you guys could, pause it or take a screenshot if you want to read what it's about. Okay, if I could get it to focus, there we go. All right, then I'll move it up a bit so you can see the rest of the card too. All right, and you can see here in the benefits, it says restrains the outflow of excess passion and sexual desire, causes sexual energy to turn inward and upward, thereby assisting the practice of meditation, strengthens digestion, assimilation, and elimination. So, basically what I'll do is I'll actually put the name of this in the description as well in case you guys wanted to look into it some more. Whether it be a Google search or maybe even seeing if they have videos about it on YouTube. For those of you who want a personal reading, you can check out the About section of my channel for more info on that. And you could also follow me on Instagram where we have a little bit more fun with astrology and tarot there. Like I said, I know this was a pretty weird reading. Hopefully it resonated for some of you though. But definitely let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.